Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. It's eyeshadow day. Can you tell? My whole face is done but my eyes. I'm excited because we're gonna be talking about March shade of the month and what the most important eyeshadow color you have in your collection, in your arsenal, if you will. Do you guys know what it is? We're gonna be talking all about Dream Eyeshadow today. Oh, if you guys haven't seen this one yet, it's a good one. So let's do some comparison swatches and of course, some eyeshadow looks. If you wanna check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and thanks for being here. All right, friends, I'm excited to finally, hopefully, be through all of the sickness. I apologize, this video isn't up sooner, but haven't followed me on Instagram stories. We've had sickness in our house for probably 3 weeks now, nonstop. It was a respiratory thing one kid had, then the flu, then I caught it, then I thought we were through the thick of it. All the antibiotics were done. And then it was like, nope, here's the stomach bug. Thank you. So I'm just now getting over it. I feel slightly less nauseous than I did yesterday. But I feel 100 million times better than I did a couple days ago. So we're rolling with it. It's nice and rainy here in good old Mo. That's Missouri for you non-Midwestern folk. We're gonna talk eyeshadow today. I'm in a great mood because it's eyeshadow day, right? You guys know, one of my favorite subjects. And there is a new shade of the month for the best month ever, my birthday month. So if you haven't caught it, I'm doing a giveaway, a big one this month because it's my birthday and I can, right? So happy to all you other March babies out there. Check out my Instagram. I will link it down below, but I'm doing a very big Seint giveaway for this month. Who doesn't love a shopping spree, right? $500 in free makeup. I would take that. So, let's talk Dream and let's do some comparisons because I will be honest. When the Advent calendar first was released and I did all of the comparison swatches, I did all of those. But I don't think I realized until I was utilizing it more, because that was a first impression, that this color, I couldn't classify it like with that first impression. I was just kind of like, well, is it warm? Is it cool? Is it? And I think that's because I wasn't expecting it to be so neutral. Do you guys see that? Like it's not really warm. It's not really cool. There's so few shades we have in our collection that are so neutral. Like I don't even think, you'll see it more so when I start swatching other eyeshadows next to it. So there's Dream. She's beautiful. She is neutral. I would classify her a 4 shade, very much mid-tone, matte, neutral. Okay, so let's do some comparisons. I wore this shirt because I was just like, this looks like Dream. Does it not? Like, just a beautiful brown. I love a good brown. You guys know me. So we're gonna talk about the importance of having shades like this in your collection, especially those of you that might have not found your perfect transition shade yet. So we'll get to that in a moment. Let's first do all the swatches, right? First, we're gonna hit those that are most similar, because when this one was first released, I honestly was like, it's like basic. It looks a lot like basic, right? In the 10. So let's put it next to basic so you can see a comparison. Okay, so up until this point, I was always like, basic is very neutral. Like but it always lended a little bit cool. Can you see that? Okay, so this one is basic, this one is Dream. When comparing the two, I consider basic more cool and Dream more warm. Next most neutral shade, lends a little cool, I would say would be Bird. Now this one looks way different because Bird has green undertones. So it's a titch darker, I feel like, as well. And you can kind of tell, but it has those olive green undertones, which again, still make it cool. But again, it pulls warm next to a shade like that, right? Okay, but how does it compare to my all-time favorite warm shade? It's not gonna look warm at all next to this one, will it? So here's Bubba, again, another 4 shade. Next to that, it looks very cool, right? Like it doesn't look at all warm in comparison. So let's put it next to what I would consider the most neutral, warm leaning tone shade. Now this one I don't classify as a 4. This is Chai. So I consider Chai, it lends warm, but it's very neutral and it's more of like a 2 to 3 depending on how heavy you apply it. You can tell how much lighter it is than Dream. But like the more I look at these and compare them, the more I feel like Dream has a little bit of like pink in it. It's not pink by any means, but like compared to all of our browns, all browns are neutral, but obviously they're gonna lean more one way or the other. Depending if they have more red, they're gonna be more warm. Depending on if they have more blue, they're gonna be more cool. Green is also cool, but that red and orange or pink, which is also red, is gonna lend a little bit more warm. So do I think Dream is warm? No, but if I had to like say, I would say it's more of a warm neutral, but it's very, very, very neutral. Look at that. Okay, so if you are one of those people that's like, oh, every color pulls pink on me, then this color would probably pull pink on you. Some people think, you know, and now I get how a color really warm like Baba would pull warm on somebody, but also if you neutralize out your lids so that any of the veins and, you know, if you have redness on your eyelids, things like that are canceled out first, you usually don't have to worry about that problem. It's usually if it's like from your like skin tone sometimes, but usually it's just due to what's peeking through. So I have already prepped my lids with my eyeshadow primer. Then I used my color corrector to get rid of all of my depth and discoloration. And then I made sure I locked and loaded it with lots of powder so I get that good blend once I'm ready for my eyeshadow. Trying to find any other shades that might be anywhere close. Pup is very similar to Chai, but oh my gosh, I feel like it pulls way lighter depending on the swatch. You see how cool that is? You see it's got almost like blue undertones, that gray based. That's Pup, way lighter. Stay Golden reminds me more like Chai, but more gold. Again, it's like pretty light, like Pup. You can see it almost blends in with my arm because I have warm undertones. So again, way lighter, nowhere in that wheelhouse. But I mean, the next closest I'd say would be Butterscotch. Really not close at all, but it's even darker and warmer than Baba. Man, that was a really heavy Baba swatch, wasn't it? Because usually this one's lighter. I got a new Bubba. It was pigmented. And then we've got Sedona. Again, a 4.5. Whoa, I'm like swatching everything heavy today. Okay, and so if you compare Sedona and Dream, it looks like Dream, if you really want to build it up and swatch it, I swatched it pretty heavy here. Now this is Sedona and this is Dream. You can tell this one's a lot lighter. I classify Sedona as a 4.5 because you can definitely build it up for depth, but I still think I would classify Dream as a 4 because I feel like it's just not quite that dark. I don't think I personally wouldn't grab this shade to build up in my outer corner. I don't think it would give me enough contrast. Because I know I'll probably get asked. Then there's also Oak, which is very similar to Sedona as far as depth goes, just very cool, and Sedona is very warm. So you can probably tell. See, like if you compare Sedona and Dream, Dream looks very neutral. Compare it to Oak, it looks warm because this is so gray and so cool. So that might kind of help you based on what you've tried on yourself. If you've tried Oak and it's too cool and it doesn't blend out, then something like Dream would probably work like a dream. No pun intended, because it's slightly warmer. And you guys know how I am with my eyes. Like if I try to use way too cool shades, they don't blend well. I need a little bit of warmth. Depends on your eyes, depends on the look you're going for. So anything cooler than this or warmer than this isn't anywhere close. So I'm not even gonna bother swatching them. I feel like that's enough swatches. That you should be able to make a good educated guess based on whether you have any of these shades that are anywhere close. So now that we have all of our swatches done, let's talk about the most important eyeshadow shade you should have in your collection. Did you guys guess? It was the transition shade. I always preach this because I feel like it took me a long time to learn the importance of a transition shade. And I was one of those people for years and I see so many clients doing this because you guys tell me that, you know, one color eye look and just grab a beautiful shimmery shade, because those are the fun ones. I totally get it. And they drop it on their lid. And that's all you do. As you age, you might realize this is doing nothing for my eyes. It's, you know, when we're 20, we can pull that all the way up to the brow bone. It doesn't look bad. As we get into our mid-30s and beyond, we're like, oh my gosh, I have to relearn eyeshadow. I've been there, done that. And that is not the best option, right? For getting the most out of our eyes, to make ourselves look younger, more youthful, to lift our eyes, to kind of enhance them and not age ourselves, right? The transition shade should be your 4 or 4.5 shade. One of these bad boys. Now, depending on your skin tone will depend on where you lie in my category system. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a picture in here. I have an entire email explaining it, lots of videos. I categorized all of Seint's eyeshadows so that it can help you make a better, more informed decision and be able to compare colors within our line and understand, because online they are very deceiving. They don't look like the pictures. This is why I do these type of videos, so that you guys can not have to worry about exchanging eyeshadows online, because that's not fun, right? So how to pick your perfect transition shade. I feel like number one is based on your skin tone. So if you are about my color, okay, then you could definitely wear a 4 shade, okay? 4 shade is what I consider a mid-tone matte. They're all mattes, and once you get into that 35 plus, I don't recommend putting any shimmers near your crease. And if you don't know, that is where your transition shade goes. It is the shade that goes in your crease and above it to carve out your eye. It gives you depth, it gives you definition. and it is your main form of blending so that colors don't look off, look seamless, they transition nicely, they ombre light to dark, all of those things we want from our eyeshadow so they don't look stark and very unnatural, right? If you've ever seen anyone with a very harsh stopping point, you know what I mean. We want to avoid that. We want the best blend. So they are matte because mattes aren't going to emphasize that texture we get as we age, okay? Also, mattes are the best to blend. You won't see shadow, like shimmer shadows being used as blending shades ever. You place those shimmers where you want to catch light. You really want to keep your mattes to those areas where you don't want light to reflect. Where light reflects will increase the look of texture on your eyes. So I 100,000 million times believe just because you have mature eyes, I have very mature eyelids, and I still look younger now wearing shimmer shadows than I did I'll be honest, I wore all mattes for 10 years because I knew my eyelids looked mature and I didn't want to emphasize them. Let me tell you, they just looked dry and more crepey because I wasn't utilizing the shades in the right places. When you are strategic and you know where to put a shimmer, where not to put a shimmer, it's a complete game changer. You can wear shimmers anytime. I swear my eyes look way younger now. And you'll notice sometimes when I do an all matte eye look, I don't like them on myself personally. I think it draws more attention to my lid texture. So don't let anyone tell you you can't wear shimmers if you have mature eyes, but know that you can't wear shimmers just willy-nilly all over. You do have to learn I don't like to say there's rules with makeup, but you do have to learn a few things about placement. And that is one of the things. We don't want shimmer in our crease. This is where we have the most texture as we age. And if you're like me, you want to really avoid on the lower lash line and this inner corner unless you keep it on the flattest part. So I'll show you that in a minute. But otherwise, you can definitely wear shimmer on the lid. I think it makes your eyes look way more youthful as long as it's paired with the perfect transition shade. Back to picking your transition shade based on your skin tone will be the depth of color. So I have mine as 4s, is good for my skin tone. That way you know. If you are lighter than me, you can wear a 2 to 3 shade, right? So those are just these colors here, right? So this is a 3, these are 2s. You can kind of tell the difference in how they go in depth. 2s, 3s, 4s. So as they get darker, that doesn't mean you can't wear them. You just might have to apply these lighter than I do in order to kind of just get a wash of color and not use them at full pigmentation. I can also wear this color, but I have to really apply a lot of it to give me the definition I need to my eyes. Same goes with these, which are 4-5s, meaning they're even darker. The 4-5 means they're mattes, but they can be built up to also use in the 5 areas, which to me is the outer corner, liner, those areas we want the most depth. So when I use one of those shades in my crease, I have to be light-handed. So if you're darker than me, go with a 4-5. If you're lighter than me, you can go with a 2 or 3. And if you're about my skin tone or you just don't know where to start, I would say start with a 4. They're very safe. Today's color, Dream, is a 4. I feel like 90% of people will be able to wear this color because it is so neutral and it is right in the middle as far as depth goes. So you can easily wear it, lightly and build it up and get a little bit of depth, or you can really pack it on and get more color depending on how much you want to apply. It's gonna create that shadow. Do you see that, right? So that is what we're looking for in a transition shade. And when I say people usually want to just get a shimmer and throw it on the lid, they lose that chance to blend and get a seamless look, and they lose any definition, especially if you have hooded eyes like I do. So if you have any skin that comes down onto your mobile lid to where when your eyes are open, you don't see your lid fully, you have a degree of hooded eyes. I really believe that most people have some degree of hooded eyes. You'll see some people where they don't think you have hooded eyes unless the skin's like completely covering. That's not true. Like if any of your mobile lid isn't visible, like when I open my eyes, I can see a tiny sliver, but I still have very hooded eyes. So if you have any, then there is a method to applying a shadow so that it can disguise that heaviness that your hood can have. And since when your eyes are open, you're not gonna see much of that shimmer, a transition shade is literally a must. And if you're going for a one shaded look, I will only apply a transition. And I'm gonna show you the difference right now. Okay, so first method, used for years, we just pick out a fun shimmer. I know these are the fun shades. These aren't as fun. Like there's something about beautiful, lovely swatch shimmer. Why are they so much more fun? I don't know, but they are. And if you have mature eyes, you can still wear these. Now that I'm doing full eyeshadow matches, which I will drop in my comment, my pinned comment, as well as underneath the video, I do custom eyeshadow matches as well. I see so many people who say no shimmers, and I'm like, I really wish you would try a shimmer. Just know where to place it. So here's what we don't do. We don't put it from lash line to the hood, okay? Even if we don't, like that will, I'm not even gonna show you that because then I'll have to like start over and wipe it all off. But as you can imagine, this area would look very textured. Where light reflects, it's where you're gonna see the most texture, right? And these obviously reflect way more light than a matte would. So I'm just going to put this on my mobile lid, the part that when I blink moves up and down, okay? Not in my crease, just on my mobile lid. Okay, you can probably tell. You might be able to see itty bitty amount right there in between my lashes. Otherwise, you're not gonna see that color unless I'm blinking. And that's a very subtle shimmer as well. That is Crush, by the way, one of my favorites. And it's gonna kind of catch light a little bit, but is it doing anything for my eye shape? Like I honestly, from here, I can't even see anything's on. If I had eyeliner, it would even block more so of my eyelid space so you wouldn't see anything. Okay, now we're gonna go in with Dream. And first I'm gonna show you how I would recommend, but there's more than one way, if you're gonna pick a one color. Okay, first things first, any transition shade. Doesn't matter if you apply it first or second or wherever. The key is a big fluffy brush. I cannot stress enough that the key to blending out a transition shade, to not applying too much of a transition shade, and to not apply it so much product to one spot that then it makes difficult, like makes blending so much harder, is to have a big fluffy brush. I love our brushes, but there is not one other brush I would use to apply this shade. You'll see me, I never use anything but the big fluffy end of the eyeshadow brush. And that's because that is what it's designed for. It's a blending brush. I see a lot of people using the smudge brush. Dense. What do dense bristles do? They load up product and they deposit it in one spot. Then what do you have to do? You have to work on blending that out. If you have mature eyes and you have skin that moves, you don't want to move that skin around. One, it's going to cause more damage over time. Let's be honest. We want to minimize that as much as possible. But also, it's going to create like dead spots where like the color can't really get into your wrinkles or the crevices of the texture. You want to create like the most seamless blend. And this goes whether you're 35 or 60 plus. You can wear eyeshadow, but it's all about application. So I want to show you how to apply this color. And it starts with how you load your brush, okay? I don't want you getting it on there like this. I do use this method, but only for the lid. So when we're talking transition shade, putting color in the crease, putting it on the hood to minimize the look of your hood. All of those things that we want to create this natural transition to frame out the eye. This is what you do. You want to touch the product, okay? Get it on the very end of the brush. Always get off excess. And then when you're touching your eye, you don't want to go in with pressure to one point. You guys, I have so much loose skin here. You can tell it like barely even like bounces back anymore. But if I barely touch my eye, let's see if I can do this while still looking in the camera. If I barely touch, do you see my eyelid moving? At all. That's what you want. You don't want it to move. And that takes such gentle pressure from your brush. You utilize the bristles. That's what they're made for. These are very loose bristles. They're designed to pick up little product and to barely, look at that. And I can slowly build up. I am not one of those people that can go in and do little circles. My entire eyelid moves and I will see patchiness. I will see bald spots where the color didn't even adhere because my skin was moving, not the pigment being distributed over the skin. Does that make sense? So I feel like it's so important to learn light hand. If you go in with it in one area, blending is going to be so much harder. You're not even going to want to use a transition shade because it's going to be too much work. Now, the key to being able to use this kind of method is also making sure your eyelids have been prepped so that you're loaded up your eyelids with vanilla dust before you ever sat down to do your, or whatever powder you like to use. The key is you want a really non-sticky eyelid, because a primer or highlights, anything is gonna mean that this color cannot be distributed over your skin. It's gonna stick to certain spots. So that's why I'm always like, make sure you really powder your eyelids generously. Make sure they're nice and smooth and soft and like not sticky or tacky in any way. Okay, so and this is all I do. I'm not moving any skin. I am just slowly building up depth until it gets to a point where I'm happy, okay? And that's all I do. I tap, 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 tap off, and sometimes I'll go down to the outer corner. Again, you can't see my eyelids moving. Now, if I put any pressure, you see them moving, right? And then they don't want to bounce back. Okay, now I can slowly put this into the crease to create more depth. Now, this doesn't mean that as you're building up color later, you can't press on more, kind of tap, tap. I like to create just that really light base and then just kind of use the bristles to kind of pull it up until I can see it with my eyes open. Okay, so make sure you can open your eyes and you see that color. Okay, now this I feel like is pretty light-handed. but can you see the difference between my two lids? Like, look how much more lifted this one looks than this one, which all it is a little bit of depth. And it's mainly focused right here on the hood. I'm gonna go ahead and do my lower lash line, because if I was doing a one color eye look, this is what I would do. I'd put a little bit of color on the lower lash line, a little bit in my crease. Naturally, because this is darker and my lid is still lighter because I powdered it, let it like be my skin tone. Up here on my arch is still my skin tone. It naturally looks brightened there, and it naturally gives me a contour to my eye. Do you see the difference between these two one color looks? Shimmer on the lid, a little bit of my 4 shade in the crease and lower lash line. I feel like it is such a night and day difference. And when I learned technique and color choice, maybe not using the most fun color, but having a color in my arsenal that looks good with those no makeup days, that kind of just gives your eye an enhancement, doesn't take any time because you can just throw it in your crease. And once you learn the technique, you get really fast at it. Like, I can throw Bubba in my crease in 2 seconds. Like, it's just easy peasy. But I feel like this color is such a game changer for so many people because it's nice and neutral. And if you like basic, but maybe want a little bit more warmth and Bubba is too warm for you, this might be the golden ticket. Because up until now, we've never had anything just itty bitty slightly warm. And there's a huge difference between this color and Bubba, like huge. And we don't have anything in between, which is crazy. So I'm really, really loving this shade. Okay, so that is one option for an all one color look. Now, a lot of people really like to just throw the color, not be so precise. And here's another option. All over the lid, and then you just windshield wiper and pull it all the way up. Okay, now for my small-eyed girls, you might not like this as much. I don't do this as often because I do have very small eyes. You can probably tell how just losing that light kind of took away a little bit of, you know, the brightness of my eyes, but it's probably a faster technique to just go boop and pull it up. Makes blending way easier. You don't have to worry about anything, right? So one color, again, I would pick a 4 or a 3 or a mid-tone matte all over my eye. And that's another beautiful, just still gives a little bit more depth, but another one colored look. That's what I would do. I feel like it needs a little bit more definition when I do that. I hope you guys can see the difference. Now, let's alter these two to make them a little bit more jazzed up, right? So you can still do this look and add a shimmer on the lid and take it from day to night. Take it from really simple to a little bit more. Know that if you put a color all over the lid that is a little bit darker than your eyelid color, it's gonna darken this as well. So this won't be as bright as this side, which just had my eyelid color. Does that make sense? It will change the color of your shimmer slightly. Sometimes that works out, sometimes you might not like it as much, but I'm just gonna take this, and again, mature eyes can wear shimmer. Keep it on the lid. I like to even keep it on the first half. So couple options from the inner corner to halfway along your lid, or you can just press it right on the ball of your eye. Right in the middle is another option. But do you see how much less shimmery this looks than this side? So maybe you have more mature eyes and you have some shimmers and you're like, I can't wear that. Try putting a matte down first. It's a little darker than your skin tone. Then putting this on, it's gonna be a little bit more subdued. Now I'm gonna slowly build it up so that I can get a little bit more shimmer color payoff, just so it kind of matches this side a little bit more. Then I'm gonna apply this Dream to this side. Now, I've gotten questions about which shade goes first. I feel like it's a personal preference. If you like to throw on a color on the lid and then go in with this, or vice versa, like I did on this side, and I put in the crease color first. I tend to put the crease color on first because I feel like my finger, if I use that for the shimmer, kind of blends out the shimmer. Some people put on the shimmer and feel like they always get it in their crease too much. So instead of having to go back in with a matte on this side in order to kind of dull down that shimmer and add some matte, you can just apply it this way. Add your shimmer on the lid and then use this to blend, okay? So a transition shade's main purpose, besides giving definition and depth, is to blend colors together so there's not this harsh stopping point. So when your shimmer is there, it just kind of stops, right? This, start in the crease, slowly pull out. I feel like it helps if you happen to get shimmer there, kind of neutralizes it a little bit by adding that matte. But is there one way? I don't think so. You'll see me do it both ways, depending on how I'm building the eye look. If I know the shimmer I want to wear, sometimes I'll throw that on first and just kind of use it, inspiration, whatever I'm feeling like. And sometimes I like to start with a nice neutral and then build from there. Kind of depends on how you put together your eye looks. Okay, so I applied it a little bit heavier on this side. Can you see how I got more depth? So this color definitely can give depth if you build it up. It just depends on how much you want to apply. So it's a little bit darker on this side. It's okay. Okay, if you look really closely, you can see how I almost have some like I lost a lot of shimmer on this lid compared to this. So I feel like both methods can work. Sometimes this brush might kind of pull away some of the shimmer on your lid. You guys, eyeshadow is so much personal preference. You can always go back. There's no rule saying you can't go back with a shade. I can't tell you when I'm doing really dramatic, glamorous looks, I'm layering. Like I will put on a shade, I'll go back, I'll adjust, put on some more, go back. Like if you get too far up in the crease, go back, blend it out. There's no rules. I hope this kind of shows you how neutral Dream is. So this is a warmer shimmer. This is Crush. Okay, it's kind of like a peachy shimmer. I don't know why it scares people so much because it looks more orange online, I think. Oh, it's my favorite. It looks so neutral, especially with neutral shades. It looks a little bit warm. Not really though, not really. Okay, so I really wanted to show you guys how Dream works for both warm and cool peeps. Like I have so many of you guys that are like, I only want cool shades or I only want warm shades. You know I love to mix them up. Not everyone is the same. So let's do one side cool and one side warm. We're just gonna keep Dream obviously as our transition shade for both, but I want you to see how well it pairs with both. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of remove Crush from this side because I felt like I blended a lot of it away. Anyway, and I'm gonna load up on Crush more so on this side. I don't even feel like it even looks very warm. Let's just make it look even warmer. What can we use to make it look even warmer? This color always scares people. And I don't know why. Oh, I just dug my finger in it. I love this shade. I think it's so beautiful. Maybe it's scary. Ginger. Okay, so I'm just gonna use a little by my finger. Trust me, you're not gonna see any Crush left after this. And I'm gonna just push that on my lid. We go halfway. Maybe a little bit more, just to blend. Ginger, if you need to build up a little bit of depth because that color is darker, you definitely don't want your crease lighter than your lid. That side is warm. This is gonna be the warm side. So let's just put good old cocoa in the outer corner, which is a nice, deep, warm brown. Gonna go ahead and line for some depth. Last but not least, I forgot to brighten. Again, shimmers. Keep it to the flat part on the tear duct to keep it away from any texture up here on the brow bone. Will lift. Brows, which tend to drag down over time. So there's our warm side. Let's do cool on this side. Okay, one of my favorite cool shades, Stardust. I'm just gonna take that on the lid. I feel like these are good opposites. Ginger, Stardust. So you guys can see, I love this shade. It's one of the most neutral yet cool shades we have. It's very like shimmer taupe. Blend out with Dream. Let's pick a purple. Amethyst, nice, cool, dark for our outer corner. Just tap, tap, tap. Flip around to blend. Cool brightener, which I normally never use. Unicorn. All right, friends, there it is. We got cool and warm, both with our beautiful Dream. I feel like I'm like obsessed with this color. I hope they make it permanent because to me, this color pairs with anything. I always say that about neutrals, but this is legit so neutral. So there it is with a warm shade. There it is with a cool shade. I feel like it doesn't pull warm with cools. It doesn't pull cool with warms. It's just the perfect neutral. So on this side, we did Ginger, Dream, Cocoa, Revival as liner, Drift as a brightener. On this side, we did Stardust, Dream, Amethyst, Coal as liner, and Unicorn as the brightener highlight shade. All right, friends, so there you go. We got both warm and cool. Which side is your favorite? All of the comparisons with Dream. I will put a picture so you guys can see it. And I'm curious, have you found your perfect transition shade? Could Dream be a contender? I definitely think I could wear this on the daily. Knowing that it pairs with anything, it makes like one less decision. If you have a shade that goes with everything in your arsenal, it just makes it that much easier because then you can just wear whatever color on your lid that you're feeling for the day. That's how I pick my colors at least. So make sure you grab Dream before it sells out. It's available only the month of March. It is limited edition or while supplies last. As always, if you're needing help with your 3D foundation, you're needing a match, you're needing a rematch, or needing an eyeshadow match, my color match questionnaire is in the drop box below the video, as well as the pinned comment. Thank you guys for being here and watching. I will see you next week. Love you. Bye.